Welcome, people. Special guest today. We've got Mati Greenspan with us. He's going to shed a bit of light on what Bitcoin and crypto is to him, and for people new to the space, how he would maybe have a look at investing. I've just explained to Mati that I'm a bit dusty today. I was in a casino till 4 in the morning watching a friend make some fairly poor decisions. So on that note, this isn't financial advice.
Not investment decisions, right? Oh my God.
No, I should have given her some financial advice and pulled her out of there much earlier. But on that note, Mati, if you could introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a bit about your experience in this space.
Of course. So hi, my name is Mati Greenspan. I was the senior market analyst in eToro for about 7.5 years. In November, I left eToro with tears in my eyes and went to found my own company called Quantum Economics. Quantum Economics is 3 main businesses, which is analysis, advisory, and money management. And we're just revamping our website at the moment to show all of the different areas and ventures that we're in right now. It's everything from learn to trade. We have provide courses for beginners, copy trading. You can copy my activity, and we do a lot of quotes, mentions in the news. I'm frequently quoted in Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Forbes, CNBC, Reuters, you name it. So that's me in a nutshell.
Fantastic. Look, me in a nutshell, we've not spoken before, so I'll introduce myself to you here as well. I came into the space mid-2016. Obviously, it was the fact that I had some friends who appeared to be getting extremely rich in a very short space of time. That was indeed the case. So I entered because of speculation on price, like most people do. I've then run a brand educating people on what Bitcoin is. And recently I've launched a series to try and bring some fresh blood into the place. It's taking more of a journalistic stance these days, and commenting on the industry as a whole is where I see my value add over the next year. Thank you for your kind words on the first episode.
Yeah, I've seen a few of I saw your video there. It was thought it was well put together, nice, very high production value. So good on you.
Thanks very much.
The only thing that I wanted to disagree with on your videos were some of these Bitcoin forks, and I have come prepared with some remarks from Satoshi Nakamoto himself, which basically says that he was talking about the hypothetical situation of somebody maintaining a alternate copy of Bitcoin, which we call a fork, such as Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin SV. And he said that it would be very dangerous to follow a minority fork. In this case, if there should be a split in the community, people should always go with the majority. And I think that what's playing out with Bitcoin Cash at the moment is a prime example of that, where suddenly they're imposing a tax on the miners, or even a minority of the Bitcoin Cash community is imposing it on the majority of miners without the miners agreeing to it first, and very little activity happening on that blockchain makes it extremely unstable. We'll not even go into Bitcoin Cash SV, which is has a founder who has been questionable in the news, has been caught out by many different judges and people who have various technical knowledge as a flat-out fraud and a liar.
Okay, Mati, you've sort of rushed ahead there a wee bit because the question.
Sorry.
The question I wanted.
My bad.
The question I wanted to actually begin the show with, I suppose you've sort of partly answered it. As you know, I'm creating a series for newbies. This is proving to be extremely controversial. I'm in a somewhat of a no-win situation because I'm getting attacked from every community. What I'm trying to do.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Mate, I just want to clarify
Yeah.
one thing to anyone watching. I
Yeah.
hold no crypto currently. I have no vested interest in promoting any particular coin or project. So, you know, I want to be really clear on that. Sort of the crux of my series is that's the kind of the fact, and I want to go on a bit of a journey to really try and uncover as many facts as I can. I think really the question I wanted to pose to you, and it's designed to help me make the show. How do you describe Bitcoin to someone who's brand new, someone that has no knowledge of this space that's coming in? Could you give us a bit of a rundown of how you explain it to them?
Most definitely. So Bitcoin is a new form of money that was born on the internet by the people of the internet, and is designed to be a way for people to transfer value from one person to another without the need of a middleman. So basically, freedom money that is independent of governments and central banks.
Okay. So has your definition? Sure. So do you? How do you explain BCH and BSV to people, or what would you? Are you a Bitcoin BTC maximalist, Bitcoin maximalist? What's your position in the space?
Okay. So first, let's define Bitcoin maximalist. Okay, so a Bitcoin maximalist is somebody who believes that Bitcoin is the center of the crypto world, the center of the internet money, and it is the main medium of exchange within cryptocurrency. So we have thousands of different cryptocurrencies. So a Bitcoin maximalist would say that Bitcoin should be the main one, and it will be the one that basically that all roads lead to Rome, and that it should stay that way in the future. It is currently undisputed that it is right now, but a Bitcoin maximalist would say that that should be that way in the future. There's also a sect within the crypto world called Bitcoin supremacists, which I'm not one of them, but they would say that there is no blockchain without Bitcoin, and there is no Bitcoin without blockchain. So meaning that any other crypto or any other use case that you would come up with for blockchain is all, hogwash, and there's no reason for it. The only reason for a blockchain is with Bitcoin, and there's no reason to have any other kind of cryptos out there. So I don't ascribe to that. I believe that the world is coming up with all kind of new uses for the blockchain technology, and I think it's very exciting what we're seeing as far as tokenization of financial assets, and as far as all kind of new economic models that are popping up, like decentralized finance and all of these wonderful things. So so to answer your question, I am a Bitcoin maximalist, and that I believe that Bitcoin is the center of all of this innovation that is happening.
Okay, so I agree with most of what you've said there. I guess my question, based on what you've just said there, is I agree with you. I'm saying there's only ever going to be one blockchain. I think that's already been proven not to be the case.
Right.
It's retarded
Correct.
to think like this.
Yes.
There's hundreds of them out there. A friend of mine is head of compliance for a large international bank. There's all sorts of uses of blockchain happening within that bank. So, I think we can move swiftly on from there's only ever going to be one blockchain.
Correct.
But it then begs the question, if we look at BCH and BSV, these are separate blockchain solutions to BTC. Why is there, in your opinion, such a clash? Can these things coexist? Surely they are different use cases. Is it more an issue of the actual branding or marketing of that use of the word Bitcoin? Is that where maybe there is this confusion? For me, I see that these they're sitting in the top 5. These projects.
Right.
So can they coexist? Do they offer different things?
They do coexist at the moment, but right now, as it sits, there's a lot of infighting within the cryptocurrency world, and I don't think that it's a particularly positive thing for the space. Both Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, or their founders, obviously, we're talking their protocols. They can't do anything other than produce blocks every few minutes. Both the founders of both of these minority forks of Bitcoin are claiming that this is the real Bitcoin. And this is a dangerous situation. And actually, this is why I came, as I mentioned, prepared with specific remarks from Satoshi Nakamoto, who posted on the Bitcoin Talk forum in, I want to say, 2013, June 17th, 2010. And he basically explains here in a very nice post what a minority fork is, because in 2010, there was no such thing as a copy of Bitcoin. There was only one Bitcoin. It had just been invented. And people were saying, okay, so what is a hard fork, right? So a hard fork is basically an upgrade of the system, a way that you upgrade a blockchain, right? In centralized computing, right, like let's say Microsoft or Apple, they go ahead and, the company writes the code and then they push it to all the users. So there's a centralized manager of the company who makes the decision to do the upgrade. In a decentralized computing environment, all upgrades need to be adopted by the entire network, right? So basically somebody submits a proposal. I want to improve Bitcoin by doing this and this and this, okay? And then the community reviews their proposal. They say, yes, this is a good proposal. This is not a good proposal. The ones that are not good fall by the wayside rather quickly. The ones that are good proposals tend to carry forward, and then they get debated within the community. Right now, there's a upgrade called Taproot, which is going, they've just submitted the code for it onto GitHub. And we believe that by the end of the year, we could see one of Bitcoin's biggest upgrades since 2017. So a fork, basically, or a hard fork, is somebody who copy pastes the entire blockchain into a new blockchain. Okay, so this is what's happening on the technical level. So you have the old blockchain, and then somebody copy pastes it onto a new blockchain, and then the value transfers over. Now, if everybody agrees with the fork, then the value transfers over seamlessly. The old chain dies, and the new chain lives on as the real chain. Okay? Now, a hard fork that is not agreed by everyone, such as Bitcoin Cash, hard fork, and Bitcoin SV, then you have the new blockchain, which is the upgraded version, and then somebody is carrying on the old version, or basically somebody just hard forked a new version. Somebody just copy pasted it, implemented their changes, right, and then moved on. So Bitcoin as a network is always going to be better the stronger it gets, with more people and a bigger community. So what happens in those two situations is the community fractured, and that's not a very good thing as far as network effect is concerned. And as Satoshi mentioned, when you have a fracture like that, and he was just prophesizing at that point. He even says, look, as long as we're on one chain, we don't even need to discuss this. But he said that if that were to happen, it would lead to a very dangerous situation, and that people should always go with the majority.
Okay, very good explanation of hard forking. I'll have to send you a T-shirt.
Nice.
Cheers. So basically, how are you seeing the space at the moment? You raised a point there that the network effect, the fracturing of the community. Obviously, it's not. I don't see the fracture just being in these forks of Bitcoin. It's right across the board. I mean, so much of the brain power is spread across 5,000 odd projects. On that note, I mean, I'll throw a question out there. Is there any what other projects have you got your eye on that I should maybe have a look at for this series?
Yeah, so I think that most of the cryptos within the top 20 or even within the top 25 by market cap are particularly interesting. You can always take a look at my portfolio, which is public and posted on my website. I have in it Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, EOS, Cardano, Tezos, TRX, IOTA, Dash. That's kind of where I'm at.
Okay.
I really like to look into.
Are you talking? Obviously, you're one of the more well-known traders out there. Are you talking? These are a great chains from a fundamental point of view. You see them around in the future, or from a trading point of view?
Well, both. The account that I'm running right now is more of a short-term trading account. Which is high risk. I mean,
let me throw this out there. For example, Tezos is up 10% odd today or whatever. But if you look at the actual transactions on that blockchain, it's pretty much dead. It's zero. So someone new to the space, how do you explain? From an investment point of view, they're two different things. The technicals and the fundamentals. So let's take Tezos, for example, up 8.5% today, but anything happening on the chain, questionable. Well, not questionable, bugger all.
Right. Well, Tezos is a relatively new project in the space, and they've taken their time to get.
The only ICO I ever bought into, by the way.
Right. I mean, if I remember correctly, that was in 2017 ICO.
Correct.
Right?
Tim Draper was involved. I was like, I'm in. Yeah.
And that was before any serious coding had been done. So that, they need to do the coding, lay the groundwork. I know people who are involved heavily in Tezos, and I know people who are building on Tezos. So tell me that there's no activity, I would say probably check the testnet. You might find some activity there, but even there are projects that I'm involved in that are planning on building on Tezos within the next year or two.
Okay.
So for me, that's enough to say, okay, people who are actually doing the coding feel that this is a good project to build on, then as an investor, that's where I'm going to be going.
Mati, I mean, on that note, if what I'm trying to do for the series is really sort of uncover the next big thing, the superstars that are out there. So any suggestions, any advice, anyone watching this, please get in touch. The email address is below the video. But I mean, look, you're an extremely knowledgeable guy in the space, so I'd really appreciate you sort of putting me in contact with people that you do think have really got some special things happening.
For sure.
I know. I've been through the rollout of the internet in the 90s, the .com boom. I ran a fairly time. It was. I had close to 100 people working for me.
Do you remember, Sean? You remember how people were going, "Oh my gosh, what is this internet? It's nothing, and there's no reason for it, and it's not going to change anything more than the fax machine." Yeah.
I mean, the parallels it's almost identical to what I'm seeing here.
Oh my gosh, crime is on the internet. There's so much crime happening on the internet. Banks aren't going to use this.
Yeah. I mean, it's uncanny how similar this really is. So I still have a lot of excitement for the space there. I suppose at the moment we're going through that difficult period where a lot of hearts have been broken. I kind of view the whole ICO boom as look, it was an opportunity for entrepreneurs. I find that I'm almost sort of 10, 15 years older than most people I speak to in the space now. So maybe I have that perspective of that .com boom that a lot don't.
Right.
You know, I think it's great for young entrepreneurs to have an opportunity to fundraise to get something new off the ground. Unfortunately, you know, the overuse of
Yeah.
the blockchain and ray-tay, a lot of people got taken to the cleaners.
Yes, they
So we
did.
are, you know, to a certain degree, I'm hoping I get a bit of community support with this series to address that. You know, there are some great minds, some great things happening in the space.
How do you plan on addressing it?
Look, you know, as I just said, I think the best way to address it is to uncover some gems. You
Yeah.
know, to really explain what you know the overuse of the term blockchain, what these blockchains actually are, and some of the great tech that's out there. So, you know, any assistance from yourself or anyone watching this to help uncover those gems, I think we need that right now.
Yeah.
And you know, I've got a large production facility behind me. I hope to make some content that actually crosses over from what really I see happening in the space is we're just talking to ourselves the whole time.
Yeah.
You know, I'm attempting to make some content that, you know, all right, it might be a bit fluffy and you know, stylized for a lot of people's taste, but that's kind of the point. I want people outside of crypto to actually watch this and go, okay, here's some great stories, here's some great characters. I'll follow this. That's what
Right.
I'm attempting to do.
Right.
You know, I'd love to hear your opinion on sort of, you know, the influence space within crypto. When I came in, it was fairly intelligent technical debate. Now we seem to have people with crazy names and you know, don't really have a huge amount of knowledge of what's actually going on. I think there's more
Right.
sort of content creators and influencers in crypto compared to the actual amount of companies is somewhat laughable. On that note, who do
Yeah.
you sort of rate and listen to? Who do you follow in the space?
Yeah, so there's actually one group that I have been in touch with recently, and I hope to make an announcement shortly. So I'm not at liberty to discuss exactly who it is, but this is exactly what they're doing, which is going through as many new projects as they can to give them an accurate rating and ranking. And you know, their whole thesis is that everybody has to do all the research in the space. And that's everybody from the investors to the exchanges who have to list them to, you know, the listing sites to, you know, and everybody has to go over the same exact research. So their thesis is we can standardize this. And I hope to be able to make an announcement within the next week or so, and if that does go through, it'll be in my daily newsletter. So
Good.
yeah, I would say I have high hopes for that project, really, because I think that can be very good for the space. I think that goes really along the lines of what you're speaking about.
Awesome. Yeah, I'd love to get back on here and have a chat with you when that happens. So what's your high level view of the space at the moment? We've got a BTC sort of nudging 9.5 grand at the moment. Where do you see us coming into the halving? Can you throw some thoughts around some price action for us?
For sure. So right now we're consolidating. We've had an incredible month of January. I mean, really incredible. We're talking about, you know, 30+% gains on Bitcoin and many of the altcoins. I think Zcash was up like 100%. It's ridiculous. Dash also had a nice run. So right now we're consolidating those gains, and it's pretty clear to see that you know, the price action has been rather flat, and the longer it stays flat, the more we're able to imprint those gains. So 9,000 is a nice mark. Hovering above 9,000 is a nice mark. long as we don't fall too far below that, I think that we can hold it and then start advancing again. Right now, as far as a technical perspective, we're looking at level of support around 8,900, 8,875 is where the 200-day moving average is. And the 200-day moving average is a technical indicator which has been very predictive as far as Bitcoin's trend is concerned. So right now we're above that level. As long as we stay above that 200-day moving average, I think we'll be poised for a nice prolonged bull run.
Any thoughts around why we have seen such dramatic movement in price over the last month? I mean, as you say, some of these projects are up 100%. I'm guessing you're not a fan of BSV, but that's up what, 200% or more. What do you think is going on overall? I mean, this isn't isolated. We're seeing big movements in a lot of these projects. What do you think is going on?
Right. So there is a lot of excitement in the space at the moment. I couldn't tell you specifically what's driving BSV. I think that the fact that it's unlisted is a big factor in its volatility, meaning that because there's no liquidity, because it's not traded on very many exchanges, the volatility can be increased simply because price discovery is hampered. So Bitcoin, for example, is traded on hundreds of different exchanges around the world. People can buy and sell Bitcoin and are buying and selling Bitcoin all over the place all of the time. Whereas BSV, there's a very few limited number of buyers and sellers. So that has a more drastic impact on the price. But as far as the space is going in general, I think that the Bitcoin halving event that's coming up in May or possibly April, even as it seems, is a huge event for the space. It brings with it a lot of awareness. It brings with it a reduced level of inflation. It brings with it a nice narrative that people like to trade on. I think that there's a lot of building happening in the space, especially where it's concerned with decentralized finance and tokenization of financial assets. I think that this is it's remarkable how far we've gone. This is a market that came from overall trading volume of less than $1 billion a day pre-2017. In 2017, it first passed $1 billion in a single day. It's consistently above that ever since. And I think that there's a lot, and because there's a lot of development and there's institutionalization, Wall Street institutions and portfolio managers who can easily buy futures contracts on Bitcoin. I believe that they're more likely to be an ETF now via Grayscale, who is getting very close with their ETF at the moment. In general, though, if we take a step back, Sean, and we start looking at investments in tech, right, we can see that there is a trend of money flowing towards technology and innovation. And this is largely driven by central banks, the Federal Reserve, the European Central Bank, who have been pumping money into the system for the last 10 years, ever since the financial crisis. They've reduced the interest rates, meaning that it doesn't pay for people to hold on to that money, but rather it makes sense for them to push it into investments. Bond rates in many cases are negative at the moment, so people aren't putting their money into that. So where's all this fresh money going is going to where the most potential is. And the most potential is right now in technological innovation. And I think that blockchain is only the tip of the iceberg of all of that, but it's a rather large iceberg.
Mati, you mentioned an ETF there. What do you feel, I've been writing on BTC, on Bitcoin for nearly 3 years now, making videos on it. First, to me, there's obviously different ideas around what it is to different people. When we're talking in terms of an ETF, we're talking about institutional adoption. We're kind of yet to see a big pension fund take a position, etc. But so things like these coin mixes, coin joins, whatever they're called. Do you see that being you've got groups within Bitcoin that are looking to maybe go in one direction? Grayscale, I sort of see them as a different type of section within that community. How do you see that playing out with Bitcoin? Is it institution friendly?
I'm not sure I get what you're asking.
So in other words, we've got a situation where a Bitcoin might be considered illegal because it can be tracked to have been used in criminal activity.
Right.
This is sort of popping up in some news at the moment. What are your thoughts around that? Can it be something that is adopted, that there is an ETF? What are your thoughts on that?
I look, as far as regulation is concerned, the fundamental problem with regulation is that from the beginning of, I would say, central government forms, regulation has always been something that starts out local and then expands from there, right? So the New York Stock Exchange started out being regulated in New York. And then as people wanted to trade on the New York Stock Exchange, the regulation needed to branch out into other places. For the first time in history, we have an asset which was born global, right? And now the regulators need to scramble to work backwards. Okay, it is global. It can be transferred without without the blessing of any government or bank. Now, how do we regulate it? And the answer is going to be different in different places in the world. In China, we know that they have a wide crackdown where they're not allowing people to openly trade on exchanges and buy Bitcoin with renminbi. We know that in India, for example, is a particularly interesting case, which is in the Supreme Court of India at the moment. We hope for a good verdict within the next week or two that will basically make it clear that Bitcoin is legal. There actually it was the Central Bank of India that banned it, and the government never took a position whatsoever. They just said, okay, we're looking into this, and they never got back to anyone. And then the central bank took the liberty to go ahead and ban it in the meantime in 2017. And that was a bit harsh because crypto websites and exchanges have not been able to operate there. So that's being held up in the Supreme Court at the moment, and they just started hearing that trial last week. The United States is a bit different, obviously. Nobody in the United States has mentioned that it's illegal, but out of 4 government branches in the United States, has decided that it's a commodity, right? The IRS, which is the tax authority, says, hey, this is money, and or this is, sorry, they said the IRS has said that it's an asset because they want to start taxing people on it. They want those capital gains, right? And then each branch of the U.S. government has classified it differently, and then there is no streamlined classification for what digital money is. And what we're talking about here is programmable money. It can have attributes of a commodity or currency or an asset or many other things. because it's versatile, just like the internet is. And at the moment, regulators are scrambling to catch up with that. I think that in Europe, for example, in Germany and France, I think that they've caught on much quicker, and have already, in Switzerland, for example, they've already put out broad statements of classifications and how they're going to deal with it. The United States at the moment is being left behind in a lot of things that have to do with innovation in financial technology, and that's unfortunate.
Okay. Yeah, interesting thought. So, so I think there's quite a few people within BTC that, in many ways, I think would be happy if governments weren't so friendly towards it, and in many respects, even on Andreas Antonopoulos has sort of said that he would see massive uptake of it if that in fact turned out to be the case. It was tried to be restricted. What are your thoughts around that? Do you think, I mean, to me, it's almost like that sort of critical mass. If I've been strongly encouraging people to have a position in it for a number of years now. It's disappointing that I don't really see that as being the case. I still think it's sitting in huge amounts of it in too fewer hands. What do you see happening within the community to help disseminate information about it and have people join the space? It's amazed me. I mean, Barry Silbert put some ads out a while back comparing it to gold and the fact that it was better, but it's astounded me that there hasn't been more of a coordinated marketing effort, especially from significant stakeholders. That's been a massive frustration of mine. I'm not salty because I've had no financial support in 3 years. Actually, I am salty, but it has. I'm really salty. But it does amaze me. Why hasn't there been a Super Bowl commercial? I don't know. Maybe there was one today.
There was
really?
blockchain. Mexican avocados from Mexico did something. I think.
Okay.
It wasn't about blockchain, but apparently they're using some form of blockchain technology for their rewards points or whatever.
Okay. But it's that sort of tragedy of the commons, I guess, is what I'm talking about here, where, somebody like myself, I can't go knock on a door to the marketing officer and go, hey, look at me, I'm talking about Bitcoin. Can I get a leg up here to make some content? That doesn't really exist.
Right.
It's a fractured community. Even sort of, I really appreciate you giving me a pat on the back for that first episode. Unfortunately, a lot of other sort of influencers in the space, when I've approached them and said, hey, would you share this to your audience? No. And I'm almost sort of seen as a threat to them that they might lose a few clicks or likes or their sponsors, which to me is disappointing.
No. I thought your video was well put together, and I like it when people ask questions and are open-minded. And the fact is that, I mean, as far as I see, the questions have clear-cut answers.
Yeah.
But as far as proliferation of Bitcoin is concerned, and as far as you telling the officer, for example, hey, check out my Bitcoin, I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Edward Snowden, but he basically said he was speaking at a Bitcoin conference via Telelink, and somebody asked him, say, are you holding any Bitcoin? And he says, well, as a privacy advocate, you should never disclose to anyone what you're holding as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned. And I really took that to heart, because I do advocate for privacy, and I think that especially in Bitcoin, and it is an open source network, anybody who knows your public address can basically see into your entire finances, and that's not a very comfortable position.
That's kind of what I was talking about before with regards to an ETF, because obviously it's shocked a lot of people to learn that Bitcoin yes, it's private, but it's certainly not anonymous like a lot of people have assumed. In fact, far from
Right.
it. If you compare it to a traditional bank
It's
account,
pseudo-anonymous.
yeah,
Sean, it means that anybody who understands a little bit about internet privacy can keep it private.
sure. I guess coming back to what I
If
was
you
asking
go
about an
and buy it on
ETF.
Coinbase and give them your passport,
Mm,
it's not private anymore.
yeah, yeah.
There's your hint.
Yeah, so actually, that's an important point. I mean, that's definitely something I need to get across in the series. You can, you know, my friend Tone Vays obviously is the big advocate of the unconfiscatable nature of it. But I guess for that to be a use case, then you don't want to be buying this from from a Coinbase, etc. You're
It's not
effectively
unconfiscatable if you bought it from
no,
Coinbase.
not at all, not at
Because
all.
then if Coinbase knows that you have it, then the IRS does, and
Correct.
they can just knock on your door and say, okay, give us the keys or we put you in jail.
Yeah. Which really
It's
comes back to,
pretty
Bitcoin is so
confiscatable.
many different things, isn't it? It can be that gambling chip just for a lot of people. It can be that investment. It can be that store of value. It can be that hedge against your local currency going to shit is where.
Exactly. For those people, it's a lifeline.
Yeah, it is so many different things. And yeah, I've really bitten off a lot trying to make this series and explain all of this.
So the way I see it is we are transitioning to a new technology from, TCP/IP, from HTTP. We're going towards an internet of value. Think about what the internet has done for knowledge and allowing people to share knowledge and allowing people knowledge to transfer freely from one person to another, um, is basically going to do for value. Now, in the early days of the internet, right, or even right after the turn of the century, 2003, we couldn't have imagined a Facebook or a YouTube or a Wikipedia. We wouldn't have even been able to think about it. We wouldn't have even been. It was like it's not something that we could have grasped because the technology was so young at the time, right? Now we kind of take those things for granted. Yeah, you wouldn't even know what a smartphone was in 2003, right? It didn't make any sense. Why would you have the internet on a portable device? I don't understand. I don't need the internet all that much, right? Only once the infrastructure was built, only once all companies are online and there were so many useful things that you could do on the internet, that's when the smartphone made sense. Kodak invented the tablet computer in 1980, but there was no use for it, so nobody used it, right? And only then when tablets came out, when there was an internet, all of a sudden, wow, we have a new way that I can hold and consume media in the palm of my hands, right? Couldn't do that with Kodaks because there wasn't an internet. So now that we're moving towards Web 3.0, the internet of value, where value can actually be shared, transferred from one person to another, there will be all kind of new things that we at this moment in time are only starting to open our minds to the possibilities, right? A year ago, we wouldn't have been able to, but now we can start to imagine a new kind of barter system. For example, Square just put in a patent that allows anybody who's holding the Square app to pay with any asset they want to, and the receiver who gets the payment to receive any asset that they want to. So, for example, I could pay with Bitcoin or XRP or whatever asset I'm holding, Tesla stock, who knows, right? And the grocery store, they don't want Bitcoin or XRP or Tesla stock. They want, I don't know, points for buying tomatoes, right? Or money or whatever it is that they need. And this basically moves because this moves us to a new form of barter where there is no real need for a centralized middle currency like the US dollar, for example, or something like that. I would rather hold my money in Lambos. I think it's a good investment. I think that my store of value is is good to be held in Aston Martin cars.
Matty, do you have a Lambo?
Not yet, but as soon as those tokens come out, I will have a piece of a Lambo. Are you kidding me?
I actually, it wasn't mine, but I had a Lambo for about a month, and it was one of the more bizarre experiences in life, actually driving one of those things around. I mean, it's an absolute thrill. I drove one pretty much non-stop from the south of Spain all the way up to Stockholm. In 2 days. We paused briefly after we were arrested in Barcelona for noise pollution. But yeah, it's crazy. I mean, you literally get pulled over every couple of hours driving one of those things. But hey, listen, couple of things just to sort of wrap it up today. I've really enjoyed this chat with you. So what is BTC for you right now? Can you talk us through? Is it purely the store of value? Are you seeing it as a currency? What does it really mean to you right now?
Well, I'm gonna stick to my initial definition, which is it is a form of money, a financial asset, which is free of governments and banks and does not require any third party, and therefore there's nobody to extract a fee, or nobody can deduct money from your balance just like that. Nobody can impose a negative interest rate, which is happening all across Europe at the moment. Anybody with $1 billion in their bank has to start paying the bank in order to hold their money there. And that number is going to get smaller. Soon it's going to be anybody with $1 million. That's going to be anybody with $10 in their bank account has to start paying a negative interest rate.
Next question. What are BCH or BSV to you right now?
They're just waiting to die. It could take a while. I don't mind. It doesn't bother me particularly that they're there, but as long as they are trying to claim that they are the real Bitcoin, if they were smart, they'd transition to, we have a new use case, let's give it a new name. But beginners in the space who come in and say, okay, I want to buy Bitcoin. And then somebody says, you want Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash? That doesn't help anybody. It doesn't. It just confuses people who you are trying to help, right? And it would be better if they decided that, let's call this one Cash Coin. And then there's no question about which one is which or what's what, right?
Okay. On that note, let me ask you this question, maybe to sort of wrap it up for today. Let's hypothetically, as you say there, if BSV was called something completely different, had its own name, do you see value? I mean, I've been to a couple of their conferences. I've met the people building on it. I've had first-hand experience of seeing who's actually there, who's in these rooms. It's widely touted, from people in the BTC camp as a complete scam. I'd love to understand your position. Let's say it had a completely different name, and Craig Wright was not saying, I wrote the white paper. Have you studied the project? Do you see merit in it? Obviously, they're removing the blocks, the cap on the block size in the next 24 hours. What are your thoughts on the actual project, and do you know much about it?
To be perfectly honest, no, I haven't, and I would like to see it. If you wanted to go that route, give it a test to, let's say, XRP. I think that XRP can be sent incredibly cheaply, incredibly quickly, and I don't think that you need to have necessarily a proof of work algorithm for that. So I think that there's another 36 coins that can do what you think that BSV is trying to do. So for myself, I would just say, okay, if there is so many alternatives, then, you know, why am I going to go with the one that has all this drama attached to it? That's just for me anyways. If you want to go down that rabbit hole and figure out Bitcoin SV and that it's, you know, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I will just say that I think that let's have that conversation once the rebranding happens. Until then, I have no reason to look into it.
I mean, as somebody sort of trading, though, I mean, obviously there's been some massive price appreciation in it. I heard your thoughts around liquidity and you know the fact it's not on a lot of exchanges, etc. before. But I mean, are you getting asked?
I don't trade Bitcoin Cash. I don't trade Bitcoin Cash. I don't trade Bitcoin SV, and I don't trade Ethereum Classic for the simple reasons that I trade on and invest. I don't short cryptos, for example.
Oh, really?
I invest in. I have an investor mindset.
Yep.
And I have a portfolio manager's license in the European Union. I have lots of different investments that are other than crypto.
Are you allowed to? So you can give financial advice. I can't.
I am allowed to give financial advice, though I don't normally do so.
What is the situation there on YouTube for somebody like myself? What, you know, are you sort of just from sort of legal parameters, you know, as I sort of branch out and start sort of doing these shows and talking to traders, what any personal advice of how I should be covering myself? It's shocked me the amount of YouTubers in this space that are still here. You know, as you know, as I said to somebody the other day, if there was a boss, they all would have been fired a long time ago for their advice. And, you know, I think a lot of them have probably stepped outside of legal boundaries as well, not declaring various things and so forth. What are the parameters as far as you understand it, and things I should be aware of for doing a show like this with yourself?
Okay, so the first thing that any compliance department in a big company or a regulated company is going to tell you is disclaimers. That's the first thing they look for. The second thing that so big disclaimers on every video saying this is not financial advice. It should not be construed as financial advice. Always do your own homework. If you're going to display any chart or rely on past data, technical analysis, you do need to say that past performance is not an indication of future results, because a lot of people might think that it is. Okay, it went up 30% in January, it's going to go up 30% in February. So no, past performance is not an indication of future results. And to explain specifically that if you're dealing with cryptos, that crypto is specifically risky. It's not a bond where, you know, you're probably, at this point, when you're buying bonds, you'll probably lose money, 1 or 2% a year. But with crypto, you can lose all of your money, like quite literally. You can have a coin that goes to zero. And we've seen that happen a few times already, many times, and it probably will continue to happen. Even Bitcoin itself has been known to have large pullbacks of 80%, 90%. But even Bitcoin itself, I would say, is not without its risk. I mean, somebody could, I don't know, conceivably come out with a new ASIC chip that can all of a sudden dominate the hash rate and 51% attack Bitcoin. It could happen. You know, there's no way out I could say that it could not at this point, just because it hasn't happened in the past. So anything that has to do with crypto or technology in general, even Apple stock and Amazon, those are considered risk assets in the financial world. Crypto is about 100 times riskier. So disclaimers, just explain to people that this
actually in the body of the video, or is it enough on my sort of YouTube channel to clearly state, hey, this channel is
the general rule is that anybody who's watching the video should be able to clearly read it. They don't have to go looking for it. So any self-respecting compliance team would have you display it prominently at the beginning of the video somewhere. It doesn't have to be like in your face, FBI warning or whatever, but on your opening slide or whatever. Or
it's sort of basically blatantly saying, hey, you know, as we did at the start of this chat, saying it's not financial advice. Is that good enough?
You don't even have to go that far, I think. No. Usually I would have a slide at the end with a full disclaimer and have that displayed for 10, 20 seconds. That usually should be enough.
Okay.
And then the other thing.
Speaking of which, what, you know, someone new coming into the space now, obviously you are qualified. I'm not giving financial advice. What would you want people to, the newbies, to understand? You know, as I say, I was in a casino last night watching the gambling bug take hold. I've traded cryptos in 2017 and didn't sleep for a month at one point, pretty much. You know, we're going to have another bull run at some point. We're going to get that crowd coming in. I think the level of trading expertise that's now in this space, it's going to be a lot more ruthless maybe than it was in 2017. Any thoughts on for what you think I should address in my show about people that are coming into the space? And, you know, obviously eToro was the sort of social trading platform, so I think it's a fantastic idea. Maybe you can tell us what you're doing now and any thoughts on what the newbies should be looking at.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm just revamping my website. So when I left eToro, it was very important to me to keep writing. And the first iteration of Quantum Economics IO was just a landing page, basically, where people could enter their email address and get my newsletter. So I'm writing every day a newsletter, which is at the moment we have about 2,000 subscribers, and that includes every single episode is read by people in Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, Reuters, and CNBC. The Financial Times every single day. And the newsletter is I've already received a sponsor for the newsletter, which is Media Shower, who's posting them on their website, which is bitcoinmarketjournal.com.
Don't rub it in, Matty. Don't rub it in.
Why is that?
I have no sponsor.
Sorry to hear that.
I know. Anyone out there?
Soon, Sean. We'll give you a shout out. So one of the first partnerships that I did was with Cointelligence, and we've built a crypto trading masterclass. So for anybody who's completely new and wants to learn about technical analysis and fundamental analysis, this is the very best course on the internet by far. There are a few things that I want to tell you already, but I just can't because they haven't been released to the public. But and of course I mentioned the trading account in eToro where people can come and copy me. But once we have the new website up, that'll be very clear to everybody, all of the different services that we're doing. And of course, by reading the newsletter, you'll see it as well. All of the different investment opportunities and some good information about the economy and how to invest there.
Perfect. All right. Well, listen, I will obviously, if you send me any links, anyone watching this, the links will be below for quantumeconomics.io. Actually, on that note, Matty, just one little bit of advice again here. What's the legality around me posting affiliate links below my videos? I've never actually done that.
Yep.
Is that? I mean, I could put a BitMEX or a Bybit, etc. That's all fine for me to do that.
Yeah, it's 100% fine. It's common industry practice. I would just mention that it's a referral link, and you should be in the clear.
Cool. All right. Well, hey, listen, I've really enjoyed this chat. I'd love to do it again. We'll put links below to what you're up to, so people can I'm sure there's a few people in my audience that might not know you. They do now.
Awesome.
And yeah, I'll enjoy the barrage from the people that follow me in the BSV community over some of your comments. Thanks for that.
Enjoy. Look, I mean, I can give you a few links as well. I mean, there's a wiki page keeping track of all of the BS that Craig Wright has spewed over the years, and explaining how technically he's lied and been fraudulent, and the court orders where the judge is basically calling him a liar. So you can feel free to share that with them as well.
Okay. Look, it's a journey of discovery in the space on a daily basis. It's never dull. That's for sure. Yeah.
We haven't had a dull day since, I don't know what,
ever.
September 2018. I think there was that September 5th, 2018. That was the last dull day we had.
True. Yeah. So I've got some interesting guests coming up this week. Actually, got Roger Veer on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah,
I like Roger.
You like Roger?
I like him a lot. I think he's got some amazing philosophies. No, I met Craig Wright once, but I was just trying to get out of that conversation. I would like to meet Roger. I think he seems like a cool guy. He's got a lot of interesting ideas. I wish that he would have admitted defeat when Bitcoin Cash did not take off as it was supposed to, and rebranded into a different name or something. But because he has a point. He has a point. Look, this is, it should be money, and it should be treated as money. Well, and all of that. I agree with 99% of what the man says, and I love his a lot of his ideas as far as libertarianism is concerned. Right? He goes. I saw him in a hotel room once. Wow, look, they left me a bottle of wine. This is drugs. There's drugs on my table in my hotel room. Oh my gosh, this is going to alter my reality perception. He pours himself a glass of wine. He's just funny. He's a funny guy.
He's been an absolute. I've not spoken to him as yet, but sort of just my interactions with him, contacting him, and emails. It's literally an immediate response. He's highly professional, and I'm looking forward to the chat with him.
Feel free to share this link from Satoshi Nakamoto as well, and let's see. I would be interested to hear how he handles that one, because far as I know, Satoshi was against minority forks in general, and it's pretty clear on that.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I've enjoyed the chat. I think it's I'm reaching.
Thanks a lot for having me, Sean. Thank you very much.
Yeah, enjoyed it. So look, we'll links below to Matty's company. Yep. Check him out, and hopefully we can do this again in the near future.
Anytime, man. All the best.
Cheers. Thanks for your time.
Bye
now.